Travis, can you hear us? Clint, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I did hear from Jeremiah. He will not be here this evening. Everyone else is here, so when it's 7 o'clock, you have a quorum to start. Karima Kishta, can you tell me who you're with, please?
Hi, my name is Dan. Karima and I are interns with North Point Development working under David Salinas.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, are we ready to begin? Good evening, ladies. Hello?
Yes, Clint, go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Washington County Planning Commission July 19th meeting. This meeting is held virtually. However, those of you who are viewing have access to the county's Facebook live stream or the County Commissioner's YouTube channel. This evening, just make a quick change here. The following commissioners are present. We have Denny Reeder, David Klein, BJ Getz, Jeff Semler, Randy Wagner, and I'm Clint Wiley. The first item on our agenda this evening is a public information meeting. It's WS-21-001, Town of Hancock. There's a proposed text amendment to the Washington County Water and Sewer Plan to support the proposed upgrade and expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. The planner is Jill Baker. Good evening, Jill.
Good evening. This is Jill Baker. I am the Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning. This evening, I am presenting a text amendment application from the town of Hancock. They are currently in the process of doing some engineering work and applying for grants and loans to upgrade their wastewater treatment facility. You can see there on the map on the very east side of town, they currently have a lagoon system operating for the town. That is currently no longer working for them. For years now, the technology associated with the lagoon system can no longer meet the water quality standards set forth by Maryland Department of the Environment for their effluent, specifically related to their nitrogen and to their ammonium. So what they're trying to do is upgrade that treatment plant to what we call an enhanced nutrient removal standard. That's typical nowadays, called ENR. But in addition to that, they have had numerous discussions with the folks up there on the north end of town along Warfordsburg Road, including the Landco cheese facility. Most recently, the town has annexed that land north of the town. They are also seeking to annex that area that includes the cheese facility. The idea behind the expansion of the facility would be to accommodate that new effluent that would come from the cheese and the cheese factory, as well as any future development that could come from those business industrial park areas there along Warfordsburg Road. So therefore, in the plan that we currently have for the water and sewer, we knew that there would have to be an upgrade of the treatment facility because we've known about the problems with not meeting water quality standards. However, what is not in our plan is the proposed expansion. So the purpose of this amendment is to add language into our water and sewer plan, acknowledging not just the upgrade to the ENR standards, but also an expansion of that service from treatment for 380,000 gallons per day to 530,000 gallons per day. That should meet their needs for the next 20 plus years in terms of growth and annexation. This information has been sent to the Maryland Department of the Environment, and they had a few comments, but nothing contextually that would warrant us relooking at this. So at this point, staff is recommending approval of this text amendment so that the town may move forward in getting their grants and loans to move this project forward. That's all I have for this. I'm happy to answer any questions that the members may have.
All right, thank you, Jill. Are there any questions from members of the board?
Jill, this is Denny. Does Washington County help fund some of this? Is it all grant money?
Washington County does not fund this. It is a town utility. They are currently working for grants, both federal and state, first through the U.S. Department of Agriculture and also through Maryland Department of the Environment.
Thank you.
Joe,
Any other questions?
This is Jeff Sumler. Is there any Appalachian Regional Commission money available for this?
I don't believe so, not at this time. But I'm sure if there's any money out there that they could find, they will do that. They have been actively seeking money for this. I don't know. The trick to this issue is the fact that it's an expansion. If it were simply an upgrade, they would have easier time finding money. But typically, you can't find grant money for expansions because the state and the feds basically say they won't fund growth. That would have to be upon the town utility to then have enough growth area then to get their money back more or less through their investment. So I don't know that there's any money available that way, but I'm sure if there is, they have sought it out.
It sounds like this is both an upgrade and an expansion.
Correct. So the money for the upgrade will likely come partially from the Maryland Department of the Environment and partially from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I'm not sure where the expansion money is coming from other than through loans and tax revenues and things like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the board? Hearing none, we would need a motion.
This is Denny. I make a motion to approve.
Well,
Right.
this is a public input meeting,
Oh,
so I
yes. So
would,
you just want our feedback, right, Jill?
well, and I would open it up just in case there's any public comment.
Ah, okay. I'm sorry for that. Are there any members of the public here this evening that have anything they'd like to say about this particular proposal? Jill, were you anticipating anybody from the public speaking on this tonight?
I have not received anything
Okay.
from the general public, no. But so that would then provide you the opportunity, if you wish to provide your recommendation this evening, you may do so. Or you may seek to deliberate on this for a month, and we'll come back next month and get your recommendation then. It'll be up to you.
Yeah. Yep. It seems pretty cut and dry, but I'd like to get a consensus from members. Do you need time to consider this, or are you willing and able to make a decision this evening, a recommendation?
This is Denny. I think we can move forward with it on this evening.
This is
Anything?
BJ. I agree with Danny.
Yeah, I agree.
I do
Okay.
too.
So this is for a recommendation. All those in favor of making a positive recommendation, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
I think I abstain on this one, BJ.
Yeah,
I mean, not, I got the wrong people there, Clint.
that's okay, Randy. We
I
got
asked
you.
BJ's permission on everything, so there you go.
Yeah, right. I think we all should sometimes.
Permission granted.
So Joe, I think you've got your recommendation.
Perfect. Then the next phase will be then moving this on to the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.
Perfect, no problem. Thank you. This evening, next on our agenda are the minutes. The first minutes are from June 7th, 2021, Planning Commission Public Rezoning Information Meeting and Regular Meeting Minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity to take a look at those? Are there any additions or changes? Hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion.
This is BJ. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 7th and June 14th.
Yep,
Okay.
second.
So we've got a motion and a second for both sets of minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. We'll move on then to other old business, I should say. The first item is RZ-21-004. This is a Washington County Planning Commission recommendation for the proposed text amendment to section 4.26 of the Washington County zoning ordinance to deter placement of solar arrays on productive agricultural land in rural areas. And Jill is the planner yet again. Good evening, Jill.
Good evening. Again, Jill Baker, Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning. What we have brought back for you this evening is the for recommendation is the text amendment to section 4.26 of the county zoning ordinance. The purpose of the text amendment is to deter solar arrays on productive agricultural land in rural areas. We've talked about this a good bit over the last several meetings. It has been the consensus of this group that they wish to see language included within the zoning ordinance that would specifically require applicants for solar energy generating system above the 2 megawatts to effectively keep their solar panels away from productive agricultural land, prime agricultural land, which we have defined as the class 1 and 2 soils. I don't really have anything else to add. I think we've talked about this a couple different times. We had the public information meeting. I think that this position is being supported by the Washington County Farm Bureau and several other individual farmers across the county. But we haven't received any additional public comment since that public information meeting. So we would turn it over to you guys for discussion and recommendation.
All right, well, thank you, Joe. We've talked about this one at length in the past. I wanted to open the floor for members of the commission for any additional discussion or input this evening.
Just a point of clarification, this does not include the language provided by the solar company, correct?
I'm sorry, Jeff, could you repeat that?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it does not include the language that was proposed by the solar company.
No, sir, this just completes the language that you all had approved as part of your last meeting.
I'm good with it.
Same here. Anybody else?
I'm fine.
Okay. I would be looking for a motion then.
So moved.
We've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. All right. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you. Again, this will be one that we take then before the Board of County Commissioners for a public hearing.
Okay, so Randy recused himself on this one as well.
I did.
Yes. Next, we have under old business RZ-21-003, Morrison Ritchie Associates, a recommendation for the major change request to the Black Rock PUD located on the north side of Mount Etna Road. The requested amendment to the existing development plan is to increase the overall number of residential units from 595 dwelling units to 1,148 units, thereby increasing the residential density from 2.7 dwelling units per acre to 5.2 units per acre. And Jill is the planner.
Good evening again, Jill Baker, Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning. I think that summary pretty much wraps up the long and the short of the request. You'll recall that a staff report was provided to the commission members as part of the public information meeting that was held several weeks ago. As part of that staff report, you will note that there were several questions about infrastructure and how that would be handled as part of this development. I believe that we've only received one additional comment, I guess you could call it, which would have been in the form of a petition that was sent to us in the form of a link on change.org. We tried to forward that information to you guys, so hopefully you've had a chance to see that. Otherwise, we've not received any other comments since the public information meeting. What we are seeking this evening would be a recommendation on the approval or denial of this major change to the existing planned unit development. That'll be all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Jill. I'll open the floor for discussion. Are there any members that have any thoughts?
Yeah, this is Dave. Can you hear me okay, Clint?
Yeah, I got you now, Dave.
Yeah, I'm adamantly opposed to this. I look at this as one of the most insane requests that I've seen in the few years that I've been on the planning commission. This is utterly irresponsible and ridiculous, in my opinion. I think for all of the reasons that the public brought forth, that I agree with all of those reasons. I've lived in that area for 30 years and have seen the changes come and go. And frankly, I would never have voted to approve the existing PUD in that area. It's just crazy the infrastructure is not there to support it. And I kept hearing during the public hearing comments that no problem is unsolvable, but I didn't hear anybody ante up and say, and we will solve those problems before we go forward. What I heard, or what I think I heard, is we can come in and, well, frankly, I wasn't sure if I was listening to something like a sales pitch for a timeshare, or if I was listening to an investor call, somebody trying to sell me stock in a company. But I got the impression that, we're going to come in and do all this, sell all these houses, make all this money, and then the county's going to be stuck with all of the water problems, the water upgrades, and particularly the road problems. I think Marty Brubaker probably summed it up best, is that basically this would be a net loss to the county. The roads are my biggest concern, and not Sasha Boulevard or any of the roads that would be coming through Black Rock development at all. I'm concerned about the section of Mount Etna Road between Whitehall and Route 66. That road is notorious, and as well as Whitehall Road, for being hilly and narrow and windy. I mean, that was a hill hopping paradise 50 years ago when I went hill hopping on those roads. There's still gashes down the middle of the roads in numerous places where people's differentials gouged out the road when they landed after being airborne. My wife has been run off of that section of Mount Etna Road a couple of times in tight places where people just didn't want to share. So the thought of even adding the existing, the 500 more units and adding that much more traffic to that section of road of people trying to get to 70, there's no way I would ever vote to approve any of that. And it makes me wonder, we were told in the public hearing that the Planning Commission voted against this 16 years ago. And then in some split decision, the county commissioners approved it. I don't know what they were thinking back then, and it's not right, I guess, to second guess. But things change over time, and given the amount of growth that's been there already, this is the wrong place to be thinking about basically building a whole nother town. They want 1,200 units in there. I don't think there were 1,200 homes in Boonesboro when I grew up there. This is just, to me, it's unbelievable. I get the impression this is just another case of the carpetbaggers, people from outside, but businesses from outside, a developer or a builder from outside want to come in and make millions of dollars on the county, and stick the county then with the repercussions and the problems with the infrastructure. So I guess I've made my point clear. It's a hard no for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate your input. Other members of the board.
This is Denny. I'm with Dave. I think he summed it all up. I'm definitely opposed to it also.
This is BJ. I agree with Dave. The most concerning part for me is the traffic between Whitehall and the roundabout at 66. People traveling east, if you assume that a lot of these homes are going to be occupied by people who are going to work east of Hagerstown. I used to live in that area and traveled into Frederick County quite a bit, and I would take Mount Etna Road to 66 to the roundabout to get to 70. That road is nowhere near prepared for this kind of traffic.
Thank you, BJ.
Clint, this is Jeff, and I would echo everything that's been said. In addition to, have you ever tried to pull out onto 66 if you're coming from 70 east on a morning when traffic is streaming to get on that? I think the traffic problem is going to be far further down the stream. Will continue, I should say, far further down the stream than just Whitehall Road. Certainly Whitehall Road being narrow is a big, Mount Etna to Whitehall Road is a big issue. But I think the traffic problems will continue on downstream all the way to 70. I don't think it'll be isolated. And and I agree with Dave. I might have been one of those people that hill hop back in the day on that road. And it's still, if you're not careful, the other thing I would say that scares me is, like Dave mentioned, the infrastructure, it didn't sound like me the water tower was the first thing that was going up. And to me, with the water trouble out there already, and we're going to put even 2 more homes in my estimation, I think the first thing that needs to be done is they erect or they fix I realize they inherited that problem, but they're going to exacerbate it. So that's my 2 cents.
And interesting about the water problem. So about 30 years ago, I lived in, I guess you'd call it the London Town Fairway Meadows area, and I was inside the city and had fine water pressure. It was no problem at all. So that's like around 1991, and 2003 moved out of the city just to cross over into the Hamptons, and immediately had to. Well, I called the city asking about what's wrong with the water pressure, and what they said is, well, you live in the county now, that's all you get. Not sure if that's the case or not, but that was the reality. There wasn't anything they were going to do to increase the pressure at all. So like everybody else, I guess, I had to buy a pressure pump for the house to have adequate water pressure. And so that was in 2003. Here we are in 2021. I haven't seen anybody, city, county, private developers, anyone do anything to improve the situations that as they are. And I would never, I'll be honest, I will never vote for anything, any kind of, for another house to be built over there until something's done about the problems that people have lived with for all this time. And frankly, the section of road, I agree, the section of road of Mount Etna Road from Whitehall out to the roundabout is dangerous. But the other section of Mount Etna Road into town, from Whitehall into town, at some point was made very nice. It's nice and wide shoulders as it comes past the Black Rock Golf Course and the park and everything. So now it's basically turned into a drag strip and a race strip. So it's 35 mile an hour is hardly even a recommendation. Most people come through there about 60, 65 miles per hour, and folks walk and go over to the park. It's a very much a pedestrian area, and adding that much more traffic to that section of road, as risky as it is, would be insane. And one person, I can't remember who it was, in the public hearing made a comment about the people from the Hamptons not stopping at the stop sign and dashing out in their cars to get out onto Mount Etna Road. Well, the reason that people have to do that is because there's so much traffic on that section of Mount Etna Road now, and at 50 and 60 miles an hour, and the way the hill comes up in a blind corner, you take your life in your hands every time you pull out on the road. So the thought of adding more traffic to that section of the road is equally insane, in my opinion. The last thing that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if this is our purview or not, but there were questions raised about whether the over the years that the requirements were met, and this is still a viable PUD. And I know that the developer says, well, yes, of course it is, but I don't take anything just, from face value. There seems to be a question, and I've had numerous neighbors and folks contact me, and maybe it'll end up in court. But I think that there's a real question in a lot of people's minds whether that Black Rock PUD is even a valid PUD at this point.
Okay. Any comments about that?
Just a
Go ahead.
comment there. Whether it is or it isn't, I don't think that is being put before us. what's being put before us is the PUD for 595 dwelling units and 1,148 units, which I think, Clint, I think you're probably ready for a vote on. The existing PUD is a court discussion that's outside of our purview. It's a great question, but I think we're being asked about this. And, you know, I think everybody has kind of sounded off. So you're probably ready for a vote.
All right. Well, I do want to make one last pass, make sure that everyone has actually had their piece. Is there anyone else who'd like to add any comments? All right. Hearing none.
I'll make a motion. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we deny the request for the zoning change from 595 dwelling units to 1,148 dwelling units.
All right, we've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Hey, Clint,
Yes.
at the controversy that this vote is going to call, I would recommend that you poll individually.
Yeah, we can
on
do
the
that.
votes.
We can do that. Denny Reeder, how do you vote?
No.
David Klein, how do you vote?
Aye.
You mean no?
I vote, well, the motion
Again.
was to deny.
so-
The motion was to deny, so I agree with the motion to deny.
Exactly.
And Denny, just to clarify, right, you also agree with the motion to deny?
Correct.
BJ, how do you vote?
I support the motion to deny.
Jeff, how do you
I
vote?
also support the motion to deny.
I believe that's everybody. Randy, you're recusing yourself.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, and
so
Clint,
we-
I think it's
That's fair.
clean to make. I think it's clean to make sure that the record shows that we individually voted as opposed to this recommendation.
No, that's fair. So, Jill, there's your vote. Next, we have new business. We have a preliminary consultation. It's PC-21-001 North Point Dickinson. It's preliminary consultation for the proposed construction of 2 warehouse buildings, 1 million square feet and 652,000 square feet on property located at 16910 National Pike. Zoning is planned industrial, and the planner this evening is Ashley Holloway. Good evening, Ashley.
Good evening. Again, Ashley Holloway, Director of Plan Review and Permitting. There was a preliminary consultation took place for a proposal for warehousing off of National Pike near the Hewitts area. We do have on the line a representative from the developer, so they will speak shortly, but I just want to give a brief introduction. The exact address for this proposed location is 16822 National Pike. The proposal is to construct 2 buildings that will have warehousing / office uses. The first building is going to be 652,080 square feet. Building 2 is going to be 1 million square feet. Each height of the building is going to be 50 feet. This is connected with water from the city of Hagerstown and sewer from Washington County. Okay. And if this were to move forward, the developer is going to request a variance for parking. With this size development, 1,182 parking spaces are required, but they are only planning to have 1,002 parking spaces. The developer for this is North Point. They're the developers for the 4 warehouses that are going up on Basil Boulevard. And if the representative from North Point would like to take it from here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Holloway. This is David Salinas from North Point Development. How's everyone doing tonight?
Great. How are you?
Good. We have a little presentation we wanted to just walk through. As Mr. Holloway had noted, we are also the developer on the Basil Boulevard site. That's been a great site for us. We're pre-leasing that right now. We've actually went much ahead of schedule as we originally laid out. So we're excited about this next project here in Washington County and look forward to getting this one out of the gate. So little bit about North Point, who we are. We are the largest privately held industrial developer in the United States. We are active in over 25 markets right now. We are the largest landlords for GM, Ford, and as of 2 weeks ago, the largest landlord for FedEx. This particular site is a site that we believe very strongly in, and we have, we can go to the next page if we could. Thank you. So this is Basil Boulevard we've talked about. As you can see, we've already done quite a bit of pre-lease up. And then if you look at the construction schedules, these are all trending ahead of time and ahead of the original schedule. We're looking to take the investment that we put into Hagerstown proper and replicate that in Washington County on the National Pike site, which is we refer to as Dickinson Farms. I'm going to move to the next slide, please. These are just a couple examples of the elevations of the buildings that we built as part of the parking. We are seeking a variance on the parking. Some of the user-specific parking requirements for this particular site don't require such a substantial amount of parking as per the code. So we would be grateful to be granted that variance. And we're already working with a potential tenant here on the Dickinson Farm site. We hope to have that wrapped up here very soon. Susan Small and Jonathan Horowitz have been working with us lockstep, and we're excited to hopefully unfurl that tenant here in the next 2 weeks when we anticipate having that lease signed. So as you can see, if we're taking the success we've had in Hagerstown and we're going to pair that over into the Dickinson Farm site, we've delivered in advance of our original proposed schedules, oftentimes more than 2 quarters ahead. North Point is built for speed. So we're Midwest folks that if we say we're going to do something, we do it. So we really look forward to having the same kind of success that we had on Basil for the Dickinson Farm site. This particular site is laid out over 2 buildings. It represents about $109 million investment. This investment was originally forecasted in February. Right now, we have an additional $15 per square foot steel premium. Inflation's here, it's real, it's not transitory. I'm sure everybody in public works can appreciate that with the price of raw materials going up astronomically. We're still committed to this deal, even with the substantial premium on steel. So the million footer is the build to suit tenant that we're working with right now and hope to have that locked up. But as you can see from the site plan, it consists of 2 buildings that we hope to have shovels in the ground by early next spring.
So you were looking for I know this is a preliminary consultation, but if you bring this forward, you're looking for a variance for parking. And was that the only variance you think you'll be looking for?
Correct. The only variance that we have right now, and our engineer from FSA, Trevor Frederick's on the call as well. Trevor, if you have anything to add to that as far as any definitional variance we might seek, you can please chime in.
Yeah, thanks, David. Again, this is Trevor Frederick, engineer, Frederick Cyber Associate. We are not requesting the parking variance at this meeting tonight.
No, I understand that.
The purpose of this meeting is to introduce the project, and since this falls within the planned industrial zoning district, we need an approved concept plan by the Planning Commission before we can submit a site development plan.
Okay, understood. I saw how much rock you had to blast out of the other locations on Beazle. How anticipate anything along that line here with this property?
Yeah, there's some karst issue here as pretty indicative by the geography of the site, but we're excited to get started on that with our preliminary grading permit, hopefully getting issued right around Halloween. So we anticipate blasting rock through the winter and starting in earnest in spring when the weather breaks to start mass grading. We're really looking to get this million footer delivered no later than, summer of 23, if not earlier. So $109 million investment, added with a $15 per foot steel premium. I don't care anywhere you go in the US, it's a lot of money. It shows our commitment and our partners' commitment and belief in this market. With the investment, we're also going to bring almost 1,000 full-time jobs, and that's consistent of construction jobs as well as full-time warehouse and employee jobs. So this particular tenant is not only distribution or warehouse, it does have a substantial mix of manufacturing component involved. In the 650,000 foot building, we still don't have anyone for it, but given the current market situations, we don't anticipate that being an issue. You can go to the next slide.
So members of the commission, do you have any questions?
Yes, this is Denny. So question for the gentleman from North Point. You have $1.3 million square feet at Weasel, and you're proposing 1.6 million on National Pike. Has any thought been put in consideration of putting solar on the roofs of these buildings?
That's a great question. I don't know your name, sir, but definitely a great question. And I will tell you that North Point has now shifted to a sustainable approach. And, when you're talking 1 million square feet of bare roof, that's an underutilized amount of square footage. So we're moving towards solar on all of our buildings, not only for a renewable resource, but also for a benefit to the tenants as far as renewable energy. So great question. And yes, that is, these will both be solar infrastructure ready, with that being rolled out in the next two years, about 24 to 36 months.
In Washington County, we're really looking to try to save all the agricultural ground we can for commercial solar fields. And the amount of square footage between the 7081 corridor, there's a lot of roofs that could take solar panels to help green.
Yeah, this is Jeff. I certainly beat the same drum that Denny does. And to kind of put it in perspective, because we've had requests over the years, or over my tenure, which is not very long, about putting solar in the ground. This is almost 38 acres of rooftop. So we're talking about, I'm glad to hear you say that it'll be solar ready. I'll be even gladder to see panels on the roofs of these structures.
Yeah, and point taken, it's a company-wide push to have these solar panels installed. We need to get the tenant in place first, just because each tenant is user unique in the sense that they might have specific requirements for rooftop units and or specific ventilation requirements. So before we cover the entire roof with the panels for solar, we need to get them to do their build out, and then it's kind of after the fact. But point taken, well received across the United States. This is a new program that North Point's rolling out on all of our new projects and in our existing projects.
I'm glad to hear you say existing as well. So any other questions from members of the board? Any other thoughts? So
hey,
actually,
this is Randy Wagner.
Oh, yeah.
Clint. Just
Go
one
ahead,
quick
Randy.
question to North Point. You guys are generally almost always just leasehold, aren't you?
Yeah, that's correct, Randy. Great question and great observation. So North Point is not your buy it, build it, sell it. There's a lot of other developers that I won't mention that are our competition. They're buy it, build it, sell it, right? North Point is a long-term partner with the township, the county, and the city. And we take those partnerships serious. So this is something that we're going to be holding just like Basil Boulevard. We're very, very excited to be in this market. We hope to continue to grow. The goal would be, from a company perspective, to continue to grow, to have 4, 5, 7 parks in Washington County, if we can get there. So we're long-term partners. If you call us in 3 to 5 years on an existing project that's stabilized and you have an issue, if I'm still around and don't get hit by a bus or something else, will definitely be someone from North Point that will pick up and respond to the request or the issue.
Yeah, and one more question. I'm sorry. I sort of blanked out on it. On the 1,000 square foot warehouse, the proposed tenant you have it's not completely warehouse. You said did I hear you say something that could possibly some manufacturing too?
Yeah, absolutely. There's be a component of manufacturing, and the way things have been going, if we had to guess, we would guess wrong 1,000% of the time on what the user would be. But in this case, we have a user that's the deal's not done yet, but we're pretty excited about it. So we're working on that, and then we're also going to be working on another couple of tenants for the smaller warehouse.
Hey, thank you.
All right, since this is a preliminary consultation, you're just looking for feedback from us. Is that correct, Ashley?
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, let me, excuse me, again, this is Trevor, FSA.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we need an approval on the concept plan by the Planning Commission before we can move forward with a site development plan. Ashley, can you confirm, or Jill, can you confirm that process?
I'm actually on vacation and do not have my zoning code with me. I do apologize. Let me look that up real quick.
We typically do not approve preliminary consultations.
Right.
So the consultation is basically the opportunity for the Planning Commission to take any comments that were received from agencies and incorporate them into the final development plan. Now, I know in the planned industrial district, we do require you to go through the preliminary consultation, and then I don't think that there's a separate consultation phase, but I think that the whole point of this is for the Planning Commission to sort of give their input to any of the comments that may have been received, and then that'll be incorporated into the final site plan that comes back to you for final approval.
And I think just based on the conversation that's happened here, I'm pretty comfortable in saying that you're ready to bring this forward. You can take that next step. I don't think anybody on this commission has any real reservations. I don't think anything that's been brought forward here by the applicant or potential applicant raises any red flags or concerns. If that's everything, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item on our agenda then. We have under new business preliminary plat, it's PP-20-001 Elmwood Farms sections 4 and 5. The proposed 70 single-family residential lot addition to an existing subdivision located at 16301 Kendall Road. The zoning is residential suburban, and Lisa Kelly is the planner. Good evening, Lisa.
Good evening. Presented as mentioned is a preliminary plat for Elmwood Farms, section 4 and 5, lots 43 through 55, 124, and lots 134 through 189. Total of 70 lots for these two final sections. Site is located, as mentioned, along the north side of Lappins Road, west of Williamsport. Zoning is residential suburban. The two sections were previously approved on a preliminary plat back in the early 2000s. This new preliminary plat is showing a redesign of the road layout, stormwater management area, and forest conservation easement location. There will be less lots in these two sections than what was approved in 2004. Total area of these two sections is 55.9 acres. 70 lots. Lot sizes will range from 0.29 to 0.54 acres, about a half an acre. All lots will be served by public water and sewer. They will have access to a newly constructed public street. Forest conservation requirements are being met by planting 25.4 acres of forest on the development site, and a final easement plat for these areas has been submitted for approval. We have all approvals on this, so it's ready to sign off if you do give your blessing on it here tonight. Gordon Poffenberger is the engineer working on the plat for Fox and Associates, and should be here if you have any questions of him, or I, if you have any.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
You did say all approvals, right? Just making
Yes.
notes. Any questions from members of the board?
Lisa, this is how close to the event center that we approved the winery? How close is that to that? I know we had some discussion when we
The
gave
winery?
approval. Yes.
That's in the existing farm that was subdivided out a good while ago. And when this was laid out back in the early 2000s, these sections were to be adjacent to that lot with the existing farmhouse. So really nothing has changed from what was proposed back then. It's just, like I said, redesigning the road layout. So it is near the event center, but that was all taken into effect as we approved the event center several years ago.
Okay, thank you.
I
Sure.
would add that anybody who bought a house or a lot would already know that that event center is there.
Right, and these lots haven't even been sold because we don't
Right.
even have preliminary approval. So the design overall has pretty much stayed the same as far as the location. It's just there's tweaking of the road layout, which, you know, isn't really a major change for the event center and the houses that are going to be proposed. And like I said, these people will go in knowing the event center's there.
Clint,
Yes.
this is Gordon with Fox and Associates.
Hey, Gordon.
All of the changes that are on these plans were in an effort to reduce infrastructure costs. So the road that went across the floodplain there on the sheet that we're looking at came over to a T intersection, and this section right here was a big circle with a T intersection coming across the floodplain and a T intersection coming in off Kendall Road with houses on both sides of that loop. So in the previous design, we actually had houses on that loop that backed right up to Selena Wilkes' farmhouse. This design, we reduced the amount of street and didn't lose any lots and provided a buffer between her and the homes.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
It does.
Okay.
And I think
And
it also makes design sense.
And in section 4, we're able to eliminate a small cul-de-sac street. That parcel away that we're looking at on this sheet right here is a little farm outbuilding that is on the developer's property that Selena is purchasing. So that little piece, that little parcel away will be added to Selena's lot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments from members of the board? Hearing none, we would be looking for a motion on this.
I would move to approve.
We've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Sure,
Thank
no
you.
problem. Thanks. Next, this evening, we have Forest Conservation, GP-21-007. This is at 55 West Oak Ridge Drive Distribution Center. Variance request for the removal of 3 specimen trees for property located at 55 West Oak Ridge Drive. And Travis Allen is the planner. Good evening, Travis.
Good evening, everyone.
This is Travis Allen, Comprehensive Planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning. And as stated, this is a request to remove 3 specimen trees. Specimen trees, as you recall, are trees that are greater than 30 inches in diameter. This pertains to, at this stage, a grading plan for the site, which will disturb 100.7 acres. At this stage, the grading plan includes a preliminary forest conservation plan with the final forest conservation plan to be addressed once the site plan is submitted a few months from now. As you may recall, specimen trees are prioritized for retention under Article 8 of the Forest Conservation Ordinance. So therefore, a request to remove them requires a variance under Article 15 of the ordinance. Article 15 states that the Planning Commission may grant a variance where, owing to special features of the applicant's property or other circumstances, the standards or requirements of the ordinance would result in unwarranted hardship to the applicant. The applicant is also instructed to analyze any effects on water quality that removing the trees may potentially have. So in support of this request, you have a number of different pieces of information. You have my memo, which summarizes the request. You have the forest stand delineation, which is what is being shown on your screen right now. Particularly, you see the upper part of the site there where the specimen trees are, very near to Oak Ridge Drive. You also have the preliminary forest conservation plan in your packet, which shows the overall site plan layout and shows the general intended location of planting and retention areas. You also have a page from the site, from the grading plan that shows demolition of the site. Was included in there just to show some of the things that are going to be removed in the vicinity of these trees. And then you also have the justification letter from June 2021 from the qualified professional from Fox and Associates. So to summarize this request, they are requesting to remove 3 specimen trees. The first is a 38-inch silver maple in good condition, a 30-inch red oak in good condition, and a double-trunked white ash tree, 40 inches at the base in poor condition. Again, you're looking at what will eventually be a 2-phase commercial industrial development exceeding 1.8 million square feet. So in the end, there's going to be very limited amount of undisturbed space on the site, which makes retaining these trees difficult under any circumstances. The qualified professional states that the topography of the site makes the house and barn location the most suitable for the main entrance, kind of the way the site is laid out now for the old Review and Herald property. There is an active demolition permit to remove that house, so that will be coming down and be causing disturbance in the immediate vicinity of these trees. The letter also states that the trees are located in what will eventually be a primary internal intersection for this site. So again, difficult to reorient the road network based upon that planned design. The qualified professional also asserts that relocating any parking and stormwater management would more than likely lead to the removal of more on-site forest. At this point, there is no stormwater management for the site now, so it's their belief that the stormwater management that'll occur as a part of the site development will actually improve water quality of the site. And of course, the on-site planting that they are intending to make a part of their plan in the site plan phase will help to mitigate some of the forest clearing that will occur as a part of this site's development. So the request before you again is one to remove 3 specimen trees.
All right, thank you, Travis. Any questions from members of the board?
I've got no problem with it.
Yeah, okay. If that's the case, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Got a
Second.
motion is and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Clint.
Sure, no problem, Travis. Next we have under other business. By the way, Joe, look, I flipped the paper. We've got Last time I tried to end the meeting early. Next, under other business, we have update of staff approvals. Ashley Holloway.
Hello again, Ashley Holloway, Director of Plan Review and Permitting. For the month of June, just want to run down very quickly. As you see, we had 6 site plans submitted, so we're definitely busy reviewing those. We have 4 site-specific grading plans and 4 standard grading plans, so we're just being flooded with site plans and grading plans for the month of June. And just very quickly on the permitting side, there were 13 grading permits and 10 entrance permits as well. But we're steadily moving forward, which is a good thing for the county. Any questions?
No, it seems like we're continuing to be busy, and we have been for a while now, which is, I think, fantastic.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have under other business, we have 2022 to 2031 solid waste management and recycling plan. This is the determination of consistency with the county's comprehensive plan, and Jill is the planner. Good evening, Jill.
Good evening again, Jill Baker, Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning. You will recall that about 2 months ago, we brought forth to you the solid waste management and recycling plan update, our 10-year update for 2022 through 2031. We have submitted that to the Maryland Department of the Environment and have received our comments back. We have addressed pretty much all of those comments, and now we are ready to take that to public hearing with the Board of County Commissioners. Prior to that, we need to seek approval from seek a motion from the Planning Commission that they find the document to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Nothing has really changed as far as major content goes. There was a few grammatical things here and there, but for the most part, MDE has found our plan acceptable. We simply have to just kind of cross our T's and dot our I's with this. So this evening, we're just simply requesting a motion by the Planning Commission that the update that you saw just a couple months ago is consistent with the comprehensive plan, so that we may move it into the public hearing process.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Any questions from members of the board? Okay, I read the comments from MDE and they look pretty straightforward here. Hearing no comments, I'd be looking for a motion so that we could proceed with public hearing before the county commissioners.
Today, make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I recuse myself.
Okay, and any opposition? Hearing none, it's approved. And Randy has recused himself. All right, next we have the comprehensive plan update, review of chapters 1 through 4 for discussion and comment. Planners are Jill Baker and Wyatt Stately, if I'm saying that right.
Stately, yeah.
Stately, okay, I was pretty close then.
You were pretty good.
Okay.
And thank you for turning the page tonight.
Yes, I look, you know, I am hard-headed, but I do learn from my mistakes.
It's okay. We haven't had long agendas in a while, so you're not used to looking.
No, right? We've got the we're post-pandemic now.
Yeah, we're doing good. So the much anticipated comprehensive plan is now starting to slowly make its way to you guys. Wyatt isn't here with us this evening. He actually is on a little mini vacation right now, but Wyatt was hired in December of 2020, and I immediately put him upon the task of starting to basically format and put together the comprehensive plan and all the sections that we have already discussed and drafted and so forth and so on. So what we're doing, we do have a plan to slowly kind of get this out to you guys, because quite frankly, we all know this is going to be a lot of information to digest, and we want to take our time and make sure that everybody's comfortable with what they're getting and have enough time to review and make any comments that they see are important. So this evening, we're going to start that off with your first 4 chapters. We're going to ease you into this. First 4 chapters are basically just kind of your your legal mumbo jumbo and setting up the plate for what the comprehensive plan is and what our legal requirements are. And it does lay out our goals and objectives and all that kind of stuff. Gives an outline of work that we have accomplished since the last comprehensive plan, and gives a little bit of background data on statistics and demographics that Washington County have currently. In the next several months, you're going to see more and more chapters come out. We're going to try to give them to you in about 2 to 3 chapter bites until we culminate at the end with the land use plan and the water resources element. We're doing that so that you guys can kind of get a feel for all of the thought process that went in, that's going to go into that new plan, which is kind of like the meat and potatoes of the plan. But this lays the framework for all of the policies that are important to a comprehensive plan element. So tonight, like I said, chapters 1 through 4 are your basic introduction kind of things. The next section will be a little bit more meat and potatoes. We'll get those out to you as soon as we can. The idea being that we'll take any comments that you have this evening on the first 4 chapters, and then during your next meeting, we will send out the next 3 chapters. And then what we'll do at the next meeting, we will again review chapters 1 through 4 a final time, because we want to give you probably about 4 to 6 weeks, if we can, to review each of these sections and make any comments. And then we'll wrap it up and get ready for a final draft to the general public. Our goal is to do that by the beginning of next year, so by January of 2022. We also have sent you out a schedule of potential workshop dates, so that if these agendas do start running long, or you want to take more time to talk about any of these chapters, we'll have some workshop dates in between there that we can do that. So just for this evening, chapters 1 through 4, pretty simple and straightforward. They're the introduction. They are the goals and objectives, the work accomplished, and our background data. Not a whole lot of thorough investigation or analysis, but it will set the table for the rest of the document, specifically the goals and objectives. So we would probably recommend to look at those and really give those some thought and make sure that they make sense to you, and that that is what the goals of our plan going forward will be. We can still obviously change those, we can massage those, we can do whatever this board sees fit to do. But that's our starting point from everything that we've heard in our discussions with the Planning Commission, with the public, and with our stakeholders. So I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail. I'm not going to obviously read the whole thing to you. So hopefully you guys have had time to read through it, and I'd like to open it up to you all for discussion and questions, or how you want to move this forward, or if you have any questions about the entire process in general, and how we're moving forward. I'll leave it to you guys to talk about that. Now I'll turn it back over to you guys now.
Yeah. Well, and I've read through this, and I think it's a good start. It's off to a good start. I found some of this information very interesting, and especially some of the demographic information. I was somewhat surprised to see almost how evenly distributed across the generations our population is spread, which I thought was interesting. So anyway, I'll open it to other members of the board for comment.
is Denny. I'm like you, Clint. The information, I just read part of it, haven't got it all yet, but great information, Jill. A lot of things I didn't even realize. So very detailed. I really like it so far. Make any comments? I don't have any at this time.
Yeah, I think because it's sort of background information, there's probably not a whole lot we're gonna dig into this one yet, Jill. But I imagine as we get going, we'll probably be a little bit more thorough in our analysis, and we may even come back to some of these initial chapters. But right now, I think it's off to a great start.
Thank you, guys. Again, I'd like to reiterate the fact that this is very much a team effort. We currently have, I believe 8, if I'm counting correctly, maybe 9 in our department. I'm still down 1 staff person. However, each and every person is contributing to this. There's a lot of hours, a lot of time going into this. And we are committed to getting this wrapped up and get it done correctly. We want this done this year, and we want it done so that we can move our community forward. The first 4 chapters, we don't expect a whole lot. Like I said, we will bring this up one more time at the August 2nd meeting for discussion. So I think the real important thing that we would like you to take a look at are the goals and the objectives. I know they don't necessarily mean a whole lot yet until you get the rest of the document. And I agree with you, Clint. We're probably going to go back and forth as we get through the document, as we compare the sections and see how we might want to massage things. But we're going to try to give you, like I said, 4 to 6 weeks. You only have a week now. That's why I said we want to bring this up for discussion again at the August 2nd meeting. So you guys have some more time to take a look at it and get us any comments or feedback. We don't have to wait till the August 2nd meeting. You can always email us or ask us questions anytime in between. Wyatt and I are the ones kind of heading this project up at this point. However, any one of our group could likely answer your questions for as much as we've been talking about it and having staff meetings about it and analyzing things to death over the last several months. We've really taken COVID as an opportunity to buckle down on this. It's a double-edged sword where we weren't in the office. So that was a bad thing, but it was a good thing in the respect of we could kind of focus a little more on these kind of projects, these in-depth projects like this, because we didn't have the interruptions from walk-ins and calls and things like that. So I think we've made the most of our time, and hopefully you guys will continue to enjoy what we've written, and we'll make this a huge collaborative process and look forward to getting it out to the public.
All right, well, great. So then that brings us to the last item on the agenda, and that's Land Preservation Park and Recreation Plan Update. And Jill, you have that as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly update you. One of the many functional plans, we just talked about the solid waste management plan. The next functional plan that is up for updating is our Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan. That will be coming due to be completed next year in FY 2022. So what we have done, Travis Allen is actually going to be spearheading this project. He is the liaison to our Parks and Advisory Board, who is heavily involved in the drafting of this document as well. We have produced a survey that is being marketed by our Public Relations Office for the county. It is a park survey, and we are asking people to please go and fill that survey out. We will use the responses and information we get out of that to help us plan for park planning in the future. It talks about, like I said, both our parks and recreation opportunities. Land preservation is kind of stuck in there as an add-on from the state. But a lot of that is just reporting, as we always do, to the state of Maryland on our land preservation programs. So you'll see probably a lot of similar information that you've already seen in other documents, like our annual report and things like that. But the Land Preservation Parks and Survey Plan is out there. Thank you, Megan. Megan has just posted up there what you'll see when you go into the site. It's 2 parts. First is a real quick survey part. I think it's only about 10 or 12 questions. And then the second part is actually, it will link you to a GIS map where you can go and put in points of interest for you. And you can see we've got several people who have already commented on our map. You can put points on there of places where you think we have issues, places where you think we need more parks, places where you think we need more playgrounds or water access or anything like that. This is a new part to the survey that we've never tried before. Thank you to Megan and to Travis for getting this up and running. We're excited to see what this brings us. We've seen other places that use something similar to this, but we're excited to see what this will bring us in terms of actual on the ground recommendations, as it were, instead of just a straightforward yes or no kind of survey. I don't really think I have anything else to add at this point. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We will be using the survey, as I said, to help us draft that new update to the parks plan, and you guys will be seeing that probably next year in a draft format and moving that forward to get approved by the state and by the Board of County Commissioners. So any questions or comments on that?
I don't have any. Does anybody else? I don't hear any for you, Jill. I will say this on the comprehensive plan update. You know, you have a great picture of the Washington, the Washington Monument here, but I think Randy Wagner's photo right there on the front would be great. just as an idea. I don't know. I mean, just to consider for future editions.
We will definitely work on that. I'm sure we can work his picture in
I think I'll
there
shock
somewhere.
Randy in the silence. So
I think you ought to wear a wig like George.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Well, that was a somewhat lengthy agenda this evening. I appreciate everyone working through it. I know it's somewhat difficult when we do these online virtually, and I look forward to the day when we can return to in-person meetings. And as a reminder, speaking of that, our next meeting is Monday, August 2nd, which is in person, right? I believe that's an in-person meeting. So we'll finally be able to get back together and interact in a more normal way. So I just want to remind you of that. And then I need a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
All right, we've got a motion. Second. Is there a second? A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Does someone have anything to say?